I Don't Get It
Podcast. Hi, guys. Welcome to the I Don't Get It podcast. This is Naz.
Lauren.
Ashley.
And we are joined by a very special guest, Claire Byrne, who is a heartbreak coach. Hello, Claire.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
We're so excited. We feel like this is very timely as Valentine's Day was just, a couple days ago. How did we connect?
So, first of all, huge Bachelor fan. So,
Yay.
to be here. I love you guys so much. And honestly, Naz, I don't know how I found out about Heartbroken Anonymous, but I then somehow found you were connected to creating Heartbroken Anonymous. Obviously, I'm a heartbreak coach, and I just looked you up and I emailed you and stalked you and was like, we have to connect because I'm a heartbreak coach.
And we're just so excited to have you on because I feel like our listeners, we just had a live podcast, which was mucho successful, which we'll talk about after. Thanks for everyone for coming. But I feel like a lot of our listeners, I don't know how you feel, Ashley, but mainly have questions revolving heartbreak, which I love and care about.
Last week, I was definitely like, we have to talk more about sadness because so many of our listeners are sad over something.
Yeah.
But they're not alone. And now we have this coach. And just so you guys know, you can actually hire Claire to help you through your heartbreak, which I can't wait to dive more into. But
Actually, when you were in your depths of heartbreak, wouldn't you have loved to know that one of these like coaches existed?
Oh yeah, totally. It
Like,
would have been good.
Being alone with that and like having to like sit in your bed shaking is so shitty.
My God, the shakes.
The shakes suck.
The tension.
The physical aspects of heartbreak is worse than anything for me. I don't know.
yeah, and it is physical. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that. But like, I lost so much sleep. I mean, we joke about loss of
so much
appetite.
weight.
You can lose weight.
I
Yeah,
also
the hair.
got-
I lost clumps of hair in the shower.
wow.
I developed an ulcer.
Yeah.
Did not.
I
You
swear
can
to
through
God,
stress.
Dad was like, "You have an ulcer if your stomach hurts that bad, then you can't eat."
Remember, I had I developed a form of rosacea that was temporary. It was called pityriasis rosacea, and it was like red dots all on my back. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm Kim Kardashian!" But
Oh my God, this just
we were
but
all
it
like,
was
oh
from
my God, no, this is
fucking
exaggerating.
heartbreak. It was crazy. I was like, "What is this from?" And they're like, "Stress."
Emotional pain totally manifests into physical pain for sure.
Right.
So yeah, it's normal though. I think so many heartbroken people, and this is why I became inspired to do what I do, is because everyone thinks I'm crazy. There's something wrong with me. It's so bad that this is happening. And it's like, no, your body is just physically processing. So when you actually lean into it and allow it, and obviously if something's treatable, treat it. And if you're losing tons of weight, I lost a ton of weight as well, like really paying attention to, and I would check myself and be like, but I am eating, or I would purposefully, get add in the fat and all of that. But the nerves and the depression, it just burns right through
yeah,
you.
you're sitting there nervous and shaking and just burning all the fat. So there was a heartbreak for you that like spurred this on?
Yes, my rock bottom heartbreak. So I turned 30 years old 9 years ago. It was my birthday yesterday.
Wait in the what? I go, what in the world? Wait, that's so
I turned
wacky.
39 yesterday.
Google
image
oh my
Claire.
God.
Guys,
I love you.
Oh my goodness.
Just when I thought that I couldn't love you all
Oh
more.
my gosh.
So 9 years ago,
I'm taken aback. I don't know why. After seeing J-Lo do the halftime
She said
Super Bowl.
30. I was like, so like 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Oh, Ash! No, I mean, I Botoxed my forehead for sure.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, well,
But still, I mean, that can't
who
do
is it
everything.
these days, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. So it was 9 years ago. I got into this relationship with this guy who I'd met a few years prior. And as soon as I had met him, so I was probably 26, 27, I looked at him and I was like, that guy is fucking trouble. You're allowed to curse on this show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to date other people. He dated other people, but I was an actor in New York and just like, in these kind of incestuous circles. I know you guys don't know what that's like. He pursued me. And it was, of course, I'm just so different, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
The exception to the rule.
of course. And
Is he
was
a Broadway
charming. No, TV.
too bad.
I
actually got nervous. Oh,
I got excited. Nervous.
I mean,
I got excited, nervous for like just like
incestual
curiosity.
circles in New York are tighter than almost than anywhere else. So like, I'm like, oh, I probably fucking knew this guy,
Yeah. Well, he, totally charmed the pants off of me. And I also had just come back from LA. I'd lived here for a year. And so I came back and was just in this place of, it was right after the economy had crashed. So I was supporting myself doing commercials and things like that. And then everything was just falling to shit. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I knew I still wanted to pursue it, but I was broke as a joke and just super vulnerable. And I had already been heartbroken. Are we sensing a pattern? Like a year before him. So he just like came in and swooped me in, and I was like, oh, okay. And
this is the answer to all my sadness.
Of course. Always look for a guy outside of you to heal you guys.
Got it.
Check. That was a joke. That was a joke. So it was, he just totally lured me in, and then slowly but surely everything in my body, you know, at that point I was 29, turning 30, and it was like 6 months before I turned 30, and everything in my body was like, he's lying to me. He's not where he's saying he is. And even though I hadn't been successful in relationships leading up to that point, I think it's really important to point out that I had never been with anyone who was cheating, who was lying, who was manipulating, who was gaslighting, who was doing all these things. And I was like, I felt just like fucked up, and like, then I'd say, you know, I just don't believe you, or why are you keeping me separate from these people? Why is this girl who used to be my friend completely turning her back on me, who's like a lovely human being? She's not a mean girl, you know?
Right.
All these things. And he was like, she was in love with me, but like I didn't want to be with anyone, but then you came back from LA and I just wanted to swoop you in and all the things. And I was like, okay. Like everything, I was just like, I wanted to believe.
Yeah.
So I think that like for all the listeners who are heartbroken right now, you want to believe what you want to believe, but you're not paying, it's going back to the physical, right? You're not paying attention to the body. And so slowly but surely I was just constantly asking questions. This doesn't line up. This doesn't line up. And he was like, you're crazy, right? The gaslighting. Like, I would never do that to you. You're the mother of my children. I want to marry you, all the things. And it was just such a mind fuck. And I was unraveling and I was going crazy. I really felt like I was losing my mind. And then cut to the week of my 30th birthday, it was the first time in my life I had checked his email.
Wow.
Or any partner's
Because
email.
your physical body was telling that something was wrong.
Weirdly, that night I wasn't. I was like, we're having like a good night, you know, and you're just like, oh no, everything's fine. Everything's not fine. But I was
maybe subconsciously.
Because I was on his computer and I truly was not even thinking, ooh, his computer. And then all of a sudden my eyes just landed on the little envelope on the bottom bar. And I was like,
what was it?
And it was just like disgusting, racy emails with an ex-girlfriend of his. Turns out, cut to, I could get into all the dramatic details. But long story short, he was engaging with her. He had a whole nother girlfriend. He got a dog with another girlfriend, surprised me with the dog to say it brought us closer together. I moved out. I moved back in. I mean, but the whole bottom line of the story is that we can sit here and say, what a dick, right? But at the end of the day, it was my low self-esteem that kept me going back and forth and back and forth. And I just lost it. And he totally smear campaigned my name to like all of our mutual friends and, you know, actors. Like, as you said, New York, it's such a tight circle. You're seeing the same people over and over. And I was just devastated and lost myself and couldn't date for like 2-3 years after that. He just completely discarded. And from then on, I just was really soul searching. I was teaching yoga at the time too. So I was already kind of like the self-help classic cliche of like actress, yoga teacher.
the super
original path.
Yeah, like a spiritual seeker. Yeah.
But I really was legitimately searching, and I found healing in yoga and meditation, and I was always, you know, very aware, and I was a dancer, you know, and performer growing up, so I was very connected to my body, but I was very much able to witness my thoughts and feel the pain and be with it and breathe through it. Like, I had gotten that down, but what I couldn't do was shift them. And that was really where the coaching came in, is just like, how do I shift my story? Not just about what happened in that relationship, because honestly, that was my rock bottom, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I never thought that I'd be doing what I do now.
You say that, yeah. It always ends up being that.
I mean, I can honestly say, you know, when everyone's like, forgiveness to set yourself free, his antics have just continued over the years. And it's not that I'm keeping tabs, but because of who he is, and I have mutual people involved. And I actually had to be in a courtroom with him a couple of years ago because someone else was taking him to court. And that's the most that I can say. But I had written an affidavit of just all the details, and I had all these emails and all this evidence to put forth to be like, this person, like, just to talk about the character of this person is that he is a bona fide sociopath, pathological liar. And you know, that was 7 years after the fact. So this was 2 years ago. I mean, my body still went into like a trauma response when I left that courtroom. And right before I was like, guys, I'm okay. My friends were like, are you sure you're going to be okay? And I just went into a total panic attack when I left, because emotional abuse is real. I mean, we talk so much, obviously, about the Me Too movement and physical abuse, and you can go to jail for that. But there's no jail time for emotional abuse, and it is just as damaging.
Thank you. Amen. Couldn't have said it better.
If you guys are the kind of people that find yourself at the post office all the time, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to wait in that line again, or I can't believe that I have to like pay that rate again.
Or if you're like an Etsy seller or sell things on Amazon
like
or
work
eBay.
at home, all that stuff. We have a place that you got to check out. It's called ShipStation.com. It's the fastest, easiest, and most affordable way to manage and ship your orders. It's just a few clicks and you'll be managing your orders, printing out labels, and getting product out fast to happy customers. So recently, I've just been like sending friends a whole bunch of the stuff that I get gifted.
Which is so kind. I love when you do that. Every time I get a box from Ashley, I'm like, yeah.
So I use ShipStation for that. It's just like, I have too much. I'm like, okay, well, who would like this? So then I like text the bridesmaids group, and then I send it out the next day with ShipStation.
And what's amazing about it is I'm sure you wouldn't do that regularly if ShipStation didn't exist, because shipping costs are just so astronomical.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And no one wants to put money down on that stuff. Like, who wants to pay for stamps and all that stuff?
It's so bizarre that you pay for it, but I guess you got to.
Yeah.
But ShipStation works with all major carriers, including USPS, FedEx, UPS, and even Amazon Fulfillment. So
and Etsy, which is amazing.
Well, yeah, you can ship Etsy, but so you can compare and choose the best shipping solution for you and your customer, and they offer huge discounts on shipping costs.
Also, ShipStation is the #1 choice of online sellers, so you'll ship more in less time with the best rates available. And right now, listeners can try ShipStation for free for 60 days when you use our code GETIT. That's absolutely no risk. You can start your free trial without even entering your credit card info, guys. So just visit ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in GETIT. That's ShipStation.com. Enter our offer code GETIT. ShipStation.com. Make ship happen.
Make ship happen.
Let's say it at the same time.
Make ship happen.
Do you think that when you were like, before you knew he was doing shady things, did you feel it was love, or did you feel like it was infatuation? Just from your end.
Honestly, at the time, Ashley, because this was 9 years ago, I thought it was love.
Yeah,
I did at the time.
I think that like infatuation is a much more crazy feeling, much more nerve-wracking, starvation. Like it's just like
it's a frenzy.
drug.
It's a
drug.
It's a frenzy. Whereas like real love, I think that like you don't get as much of a physical reaction from it.
Yeah. And
I agree with that looking back.
Yeah.
But I think at the
Me too,
time
looking
I was
back.
like, no, this
Yeah.
is love.
Oh, yeah.
And the way he pursued me and introducing me to his family and his family members saying he's been talking about you for the last 2 years. So I'm like, no, this is real
so
love,
that's
right?
real.
Like his family was like, oh my gosh, you're like
You're going to be the
this.
angel that saves this
Yeah.
man.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yes.
want to ask you, just because you brought that up, Ashley, which is such a good question.
Such a
just
good
now that
question.
we're on the topic of infatuation and lust, because not similar situation, but I was also introduced to parents, so I thought it was like legit during my like
Yes.
terrible heartbreak. Do you feel like men experience infatuation and lust more than women? Like, do you think it's more so?
No, I feel like less so. I feel like
think
they
less?
definitely, it's just a physical thing.
Because have
You
you guys
never
all
hear-
heard the story of men are like all in the beginning, and then all of a
Hunters, they
sudden
like
they're
the
sort
chase.
of. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do like the chase. I do think that there's like a chemical, I mean, even the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? Like I do think there's a majority, right? But some women have the masculine energy and they like to pursue, and so be it. So I think it's hard to make a generalization, right? But I do think overall, I do think women get really caught up in the fantasy and the future and the wedding and the children and all the things. And men, like narcissistic sociopaths, like my rock bottom ex, knew what to say and knew what to do to make me feel like I was on this pedestal. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, he was, I mean, God knows how many other people, because there were at least 3 that I knew of.
What is the point of like continuing on this relationship if he wanted to be with a million other people?
Well, I think narcissists, I mean, I they love having the power. They love everyone loving them, right? They want to look like the good guy to every single person that they come into contact with. When I moved out the first time, he like did everything he could to get me back and wrote me this like epic email that I was like, he really does love me. But he was telling my now friend, who was his other girlfriend, like, I'm free, Claire left, all the things. And he was like pulling me in, discarding her, pulling her. Then both of us, we both got an STD, or I got an STD, and it had been months after I had finally been out of the relationship. But I mean, I was totally scarred. I wasn't sleeping with anybody else.
Had the same STD,
so
you knew it was like
so I didn't know. I knew that he was dating her, but he was always denying it to me, which was also just like, we all run it. It's just like lying that is so dumb, because we're all in the same circle and everyone's like, no, they're together. They got a dog together. Like, they have this dog.
It's so dumb. You almost have to realize something is up.
They think that they're removed, like that the rules don't apply to them, and whatever comes out of their mouth is truth.
We actually, Lauren, remember, did we talk about this? We wanted to do a Am I Dating a Sociopath podcast. Maybe we can bring you on for that, because I want to stay on track and like do Heartbreak.
100%. That's such a good topic.
Yes, because that I'm sure is so hard to navigate. But how did this experience bring you to coaching for Heartbreak?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I got to say, for the first 3 years after that, like, I avoided dating, right? And just honestly, I was like, I'm Irish. I was raised Irish Catholic. I don't really practice anymore. But my boyfriend was like, do you want to go to church last week? And I'm like, sure, babe.
I love that.
Because we had like a stressful time. But I was like, I think my life would be, like, I wish I had a calling to be a nun or a lesbian, because I think I would make a great lesbian partner.
I'm about to join a Coventry.
Oh God, don't do it. We're going to work on it. But so the first 3 years I was just a mess and despondent, and it was like the deepest, darkest pain. I didn't know how to get out of it. I was so stuck. I was in New York. I searched and searched for therapists. I was reading tons of
New York's
self-help
a bad
books.
place to be for Heartbreak.
It totally is. And that's my home.
You
like,
wallow
I grew up
in it more.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about like the sun rising and it being warm here that you're like, okay, I can get out of the bed. I can like walk around. It's totally different. When we lived in New Jersey and Laura and I were going
just getting on the
like,
train, like you're kind of like and you're listening to that music, you're falling deeper into the heartbreak rather than here.
Yeah, you like
driving,
wallow in it.
kind of feels good.
And
you know.
LA just
It's
has
sort
this
of more of a somber city.
Yeah.
I guess,
yeah, and
New York,
LA has just, I mean, it's like the mecca for self-help, right? Like,
Yeah,
just-
you're supposed to be happy there and you're supposed to be miserable there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. I know here it's like everyone's like I don't know, a shaman.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the police is a shaman.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first 3 years I was just stuck and miserable and searching and going to all different kinds of I was like, I cannot tell you how many places I showed up to just hear someone speak about like moving through emotional pain. I was so willing. My heart just like cracked a little bit thinking about just like, oh, I'll go see this person talk and I'll go talk to this person. But I was like so desperate and searching outside of myself, which, you know, the cliche of like all your answers are within, right? Yeah. And then ultimately I decided to move back to LA. I just wanted to get the fuck out. Probably, I know, for that exact reason, right? Like I hadn't given LA the best shot. And then I found an amazing therapist where it was like, that was the foundation before the coaching. And then meanwhile, I was still pursuing acting, teaching yoga, just totally like doing my thing, had no intention of ever doing something like this. And the therapy was such a great foundation. Again, as to what I was saying last week about last week. Yeah, we've been here all weekend. I'm talking so much. Sorry, it's such a long story, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible.
That's so funny.
Really, it was great because I had the awareness of what the thoughts were, but she really taught me the loving self-compassion of, can you be with the thoughts? Can you be with the pain and not try to resist it and fight it and push it away and make it something it isn't? Can you allow yourself and not judge?
To be sad.
Yeah, and I think I was always like, I shouldn't be sad. He was such a dick. I should be over this already. Thank God I didn't marry him and have his kids. Like all of that shit. And then I was starting to date, and never ever did I, thank God, ever attract a guy like him. But I kept attracting Mr. Unavailables. Like there was still this, I didn't even realize that I was doing it, of course, now looking back. And I finally just I was in an acting class. I know we're getting more cliche as we go along. And because all of a sudden things were kind of starting to click with the therapy and all actors have some kind of dramatic sob story that they're going through, I just was naturally kind of helping people in class. And like people were like crying about like, I'm just blocked because as a kid, I know. But, you know, or like they're going through their own heartbreak. And so I just was like, you need to read this book. You need to do these things. So I was just helping people out and people were just like, you need to do something with this. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't really feel a calling to therapy. And then somehow, I really can't tell you the moment, but I was like, oh, I'll just look into life coaching. And I hated the term. I thought it was
we
so
had a
cheesy.
life coach on a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know if I buy this still.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And there's so many different
It's
kinds,
the name,
right?
like Heartbreak.
It's a life coach. It's
Therapist.
like what
is something that you're going to be drawn to.
Oh yeah,
you
your
know?
title makes total sense to me. Life
life
coach to me sounds like, what are you? You're
Gonna
completely
tell me
your
about my
life
life.
is so complete in every component that you're going to be able to coach my life and help fill it.
I think it's more accountability. I don't know
It's
if they have-
accountability. And again, like if you call it an accountability coach, I also agree that that's totally cool.
Yeah.
But a life coach.
But I think, I mean, if you shameless self plug, if you listen to my podcast or you look at I talk a lot on my Instagram or whatever. And
What's
I
your
always,
podcast called?
It's called How to Stop Wanting Him Back.
Fuck
And-
yes, I love that
Wow.
title.
I
Unbelievable, amazing. We're going to lose all our listeners to that podcast because it's such a better title.
Yeah, when do your episodes go up?
Every Monday.
Yeah,
Cool.
no,
Episode
sorry.
50.
Sorry, bye.
We're
Oh,
on Mondays.
Shit. Well, you know, you can go on Tuesday afterwards.
No, we're
awesome.
kidding. We're
I
kidding.
love it.
Yes.
For dessert.
Yeah.
But yeah, episode 50 comes out on Monday. And so I write for Kourtney Kardashian's Poosh.com. I know you're a Kourtney
Oh,
fan.
you know that I'm obsessed
Yes.
with her.
And so she, like, that has really helped with the growth of my business this whole year. It's just been insane. And it's been so
cool.
much fun on the podcast. But that really set the foundation. And so just in terms of life coach, what I really try to talk about, like, I'm in a new relationship. I've been dating this man for 5 months. And it's the first time I've said I love you in 9 years.
Wow.
So
Congrats,
it's been
Claire.
all
That's
my 30s.
amazing.
I've been avoiding or saying yes to Mr. Unavailables. And I truly believe I consciously created him into my life because I was just like, this is my thought that is going to create my result. And that's ultimately what my whole approach is with healing your heart and finding love, is that you are the result of your thinking. And so that's what I do with my clients, is that I show them how they are getting in their own way and that their own limiting beliefs, because we don't see our own limiting beliefs. But I also am really transparent about falling on my face, being in this new relationship that's 5 months long, and saying I love you for the first time. Like, as I say this, I'm like,
That's amazing.
it's amazing and it's terrifying. And I think, like any life coach who gets on any platform and says, I've figured it all out and here's how, they're lying. Like, they're still humans going through a human experience. And I'm really transparent about that.
to go back to the life coach thing, it also just makes it seem like they're an expert in all departments. And it's like, no, like
Pick a
find your
department.
expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick a niche. Yeah. I work with an amazing business coach, and I'm in this amazing mastermind group with 29 other women, and everybody has a very specific area of expertise. No other heartbreak coach.
I
though.
love how that's amazing. I love how transparent you are, because I feel like it makes you more relatable and approachable. And when a lot of people come up to me after meetings or message me, I'm always like, I cannot give you advice. I'm not certified. I'm not a therapist.
yeah.
I'm just creating a space where you can come and meet other people and just know you're not alone. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how we just did an ad for ShipStation? One of the things that I shipped was Beta brand pants for my mom, because I got a pair ordered here for her, and then I shipped it out to her. And you guys,
So
it's
genius.
because I was like, my mom, I got her turned on to one of my favorite jean companies, and then I was like, I'm gonna turn her on now to Beta brand, and I like can't even talk about it because it's so exciting.
I feel like I just want to be in a commercial for them. Like, I feel like I would slay it, because this is genuinely one of the sponsors and products that I can't stop talking about.
And if
because
Nas like something fashion wise, you know it's
know.
fucking
there
cool.
you go.
I know.
There- oh, that's
Wait,
so
wait,
nice
okay,
to
yeah.
say.
So-
Because you guys know I get so bloated, and just whenever I feel like extra eating on a day, I'm like, what do I wear that looks appropriate for work but also will fit me and be comfortable like a yoga pant? And that's Beta brand. It's
Yeah.
basically a dress work pant made out of yoga pant material.
It's called Beta Brand's Dress Pant Yoga Pants. So basically, like, think if you have to if you have to look nicely put together on a flight, if you work in an office.
So you wake up one morning and you're really cold and like, damn, I don't want to put on my
I don't want
pants.
to put on cold pants. Well, it's like, put on your cozies.
Put on your cozies.
They literally they feel like sweatpants, but they're dress pants, and they look like dress pants. They have like fake buttons, fake belt loops.
Oh, that's nice. They also have boot cut pants, straight leg pants, skinny cropped, and more like whatever your favorite silhouette is. It'll be cozy.
Exactly.
I'm straight up telling you, there is no way you could get away with wearing Beta brands every day to work.
Sure.
Like, there's no reason to wear actual pants
ever.
Yeah.
Like real pants are canceled as of this second.
Yeah.
So
that's something worth canceling.
So right now our listeners can get 20% off their first order when you go to betabrand.com/getit. That's 20% off, which is a great amount off your first order at betabrand.com/getit. Millions of women agree that these are the most comfortable pants you'll ever wear to work. So go to betabrand.com/getit for 20% off.
Before we get into these awesome questions that our listeners want
wait.
to ask you,
Yes.
we're so excited to ask you, a question that I have heard a lot during Heartbroken Anonymous meetings are, how can I make this feeling go away? And I've always been of the thought process that you really can't. You know, you're grieving the loss of something, whether it's like a job, a pet, a friend, or like a guy. And so what are your thoughts on that question? And do you think you actually can get over a guy, or is it just sort of like a process?
Absolutely, you can get over it.
I need to rephrase it.
Is there like a medication, or like, when we say medication, is there like a
remedy.
formula?
Yes,
to
there
get
is
over
a
it?
formula.
I just want to rephrase real quick. When you go to the doctor, it's like the medicine is helping your body heal itself.
Yeah.
But really your body's already healing itself. So that's sort of what I mean.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it
but
takes its own
also
what I
course.
think I hear so much.
Symptoms away.
Yeah, like are you just helping out with the symptoms?
Everybody comes to me in a different stage, right? Like, some of them are like, we broke up 6 months ago and I can't stop thinking about him. He broke up with me yesterday, or I thought I was over him and now I realized that, there's so many different stages. But I think if people are showing up to Heartbroken Anonymous, it's because they're in it, right?
Well, all different stages, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because there's no like equation to, I talk about this all the time.
Absolutely.
There's no equation to getting over someone. Someone came, an older gentleman came, and he said, I dated this woman for 6 months. I thought I was going to marry her. I am just now getting over the fact that we're not going to be together. And that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And I can't talk to anyone else about it.
Well, so I would definitely say he could do something about that in less than 25 years, for sure. I think, again, thoughts create results. However, the part that most of my clients want to avoid is feeling the pain. Yeah. So to your point, I think it's excellent that you say to them, when you're grieving a loss, life is 50% negative, 50% positive. That's what this one coach who I love and follow, and I use her thought model, Brooke Castillo. She talks about, we are going to experience pain in life. It's just inevitable. We are going to experience loss. We're going to experience disappointment. We're going to experience stress, whether it's about money or, your house could burn down or someone has a disease. Like, shit happens, right? And so to be like, oh, how do I make myself feel better about that is bullshit, right? So it's like, how do I grieve? So going back to the physical, and that's where I really encourage any kind of meditation, feeling the pain, crying it out. If your go-to is anger, that's definitely my go-to.
Putting out positive thoughts, creating.
What about
no? I say let the anger run through you. Get it out in a safe way.
Okay.
Move through it consciously, which is what we don't want to do. We want to Netflix and chill. We want to
distract.
We want to go on the apps, replace. We want to overeat. We want to overdrink. We want to have sex with whoever. We want to be out with our friends. We want to get blowouts. We want to get our nails done. Like, I'm just going to get a facial and maybe I'll just feel better. No, you have to and those are great things. I'm not saying those are bad things, but if you're constantly numbing out or escaping or covering over or forcing it away, it won't go away.
You will deal with it eventually, now or later, is basically what you're saying.
I like to tell people to write about it. I feel like
some
there's
people
a lot
don't,
of healing
right?
in
So you have
writing,
to find your own thing. But I think the first part is fall the fuck apart. Let yourself fall apart. It's not fun. Some people say to me, if I fall apart, I don't think I'll ever be able to put Humpty Dumpty together again, right? And then from there, it's coming into, okay, acceptance. Like, I've let this move through me. I always say healing heartbreak is not a linear process. Some days you're great, some days you're not, some days you're like middle of the road, whatever. And that, I think, is something you can't control, but you can be a watcher of the mind and a watcher of your story and a watcher of your thoughts. Were you about to say something? I know I'm going on a...
No, continue on.
So you watch the thoughts and you're aware. A lot of the main thoughts when you're heartbroken is, all I want is for him to come back, right?
Yeah.
I miss him. I hate him. I never want to see him again. Yeah. Oh my God, I need him right now. I wasn't enough. What does she have that I don't have, right? Those are like the main running thoughts.
I talk about this all the time. I'm so happy you're here. Yeah, and it's such a complicated feeling because there are very few things in life where in one moment you're like, I need him to call me right now. I miss him so much. And in the same exact moment, you're like, I fucking hate him. I hope he never calls me ever again. That is such a complicated feeling to navigate.
I've never felt like the anger and the hate. I never feel it. It always comes out as sadness, and it always comes out as tears.
Yeah.
Is that interesting?
I mean, majority of, for me, it has been, I'd say the rock bottom situation infuriated me just because the betrayal and the audacity and the evil.
Because there was so much betrayal there.
Yeah, and also the gaslighting, you're crazy. So I was
what's I don't really understand what gaslighting is. I Google this all the time, and I never fully understand what gaslighting is.
They've used that term a lot during The Bachelor this year. Not like on the show, but
it's
about
definitely
it.
a trendy term.
Is it? Especially because, well, I don't want to get into politics, but because...
Exactly, yeah.
The president of our country, there's that term, I think, has become very popular. But I actually wrote an article for Poosh on gaslighting. It's a psychological manipulation where you're making the person on the receiving end believe a lie. So it's like a perfect example is, you're in love. You're like, Jared is your person. You trust him fully, and anything that he tells you, you will totally believe, right? And then he'll be like, Ashley, the sky is green. And you're like, no, it's blue, actually. And you're like, and he's like, Ashley, I love you so much, but I want you to know the sky is green and we're going to get through this because,
Okay.
And you're just like, wait,
whatever
but if the person who I fully trust and love is telling me something, it's like, then that must be true, right? And the story usually changes with gaslighters, right? You're just like, wait, but you said that you were at the gym. Oh, no, I wasn't. I was actually, like, I was at the gym. Like, the story is constantly changing.
It's so sketchy.
And it's like, no, I didn't say that. And then you're like, did he not say that?
Because making you feel crazy, but he's just he's just trying to keep his lies together.
But then they put
he or she can also be a gaslighter.
Exactly, and they put it back on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I get angry because I feel like it's a colossal waste of time, and I get really mad when people waste my time. So that's where my anger comes from, but it's mainly sadness. Yeah. But my anger is like, what a fucking waste. Which, of course, it's not a waste. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
And
I
such
feel
a learning
so
lesson.
much lighter.
Yeah. And especially, I mean, obviously, I'm a lot older than you guys, but when people are thinking waste of time when they're in their late 30s or early 40s, right, the clock is ticking. And that is a slippery slope, right? Because that energy is... angsty for the guy on the receiving end if you're, newly dating and stuff. But no, really, how did this serve me? And what did I learn so that I don't get into the next situation where my pattern is coming up again to attract that again? So after you've moved through the grieving the pain physically in the body, allowing yourself to run through the anger, cry it all out, do what you need to do to let the emotions run through you, and then you start watching the thoughts, as I was saying before. Then the next step in the healing heartbreak process is to really, you have to decide, because people always say, how long does that take? How long should I grieve? How long should I watch my story and be a witness to the story before you start trying to force it, cover over, resist it away? And then through that, it's like, well, now I'm really fucking ready. I am ready to change my story. I'm ready to get out of my victim story into my heroine story. Even if he was the biggest dick or she was the biggest bitch, I am ready to take my power back so that this person...
What?
How? But what's harder is when they didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, yeah. Totally. When they
Which I think we'll get into,
that's
too.
probably the hardest,
Well, yeah, for sure. When they didn't do anything. Yeah. Of course. You want to say that, right?
Yeah, there's so many levels. There's unrequited love, which is a whole other form of heartbreak, which a lot of people come to the meetings about.
I remember one of my favorite movies says that, like, the most painful kind of love is unrequited love.
It's
Isn't that
the opening of the holiday.
Yeah.
That monologue is the greatest monologue in any movie.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just comes to the acceptance of like, right? So the story is he doesn't want me, right? And when the brain is just constantly thinking he doesn't want me, he doesn't want me, the brain is also saying, I don't want me, because the brain is talking so much and focusing on so much on this one person who quote unquote doesn't want you. And all it's thinking is doesn't want, and then you're abandoning yourself. And so eventually that gets really fucking painful and old, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, are you ready? Are you ready to commit to a different story? And that's where the coaching comes in, shifting the story. What else could be true? What else do you want to commit to thinking so that you can have different results in your life?
Right. All right, friends, it is 2020, new year, new you, which means new delivery options, right? We can't just be ordering pizza these days. You can order from your favorite restaurants around, I was going to say around the world, but really around your city, thanks to DoorDash and Valentine's Day.
It's like, excuse me,
I want
DoorDash,
ramen from Japan.
can you please do ramen from Japan? I'd like some croissants from France.
Yeah.
I know, right?
If only.
That amazing. Honestly, guys, DoorDash has something for every lifestyle. If you're on the go and you have no time to waste, you can order pickup and pass the line. And if you're having trouble organizing a meal with your friends, DoorDash makes it easy with group ordering. So when you have
Genius.
friends over, that is literally the most genius
What? That's
feature.
so cool.
I'm telling you, DoorDash is more than just delivery.
Okay, so you guys, there are over 310,000 restaurant partners in 4,000 cities. It's in all 50 U.S. states, Puerto Rico, Canada, Australia. You can get, just like name the restaurant. There's a high
probably
likelihood
on
they're
there.
going to be there. But
Most
like
importantly,
Chipotle,
Cheesecake Factory's on.
I was going to say
there.
Chipotle, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A,
brown bread, though.
Cheesecake Factory.
God.
all on there.
Oh my God, I want it now.
So right now, our listeners can get $5 off their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code GET-IT. That's $5 off your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code GET-IT. And don't forget, that's code GET-IT, GETIT, for $5 off your first order with DoorDash.
Boom.
So my question is that I dated someone when I was 20. And I just keep thinking that what happened with that relationship is going to happen again. So I feel like my neurons or synapses have been trained in a million times over to think that this is going to happen again. And I bring it into every healthy relationship that I have. And I kind of make it unhealthy by over worrying, overthinking, and therefore developing ulcers. So how do I stop that?
Great question. And I just love that you're like, started when I was 20 and my neural synapses.
My
right?
neural synapses
But
have
you
trained.
also, so the first step is totally awareness, right? I mean, in
Totally
any
aware.
12-step program, awareness. This is what my brain is doing. So you're separating yourself from the story. It isn't true. And then you know that you're in a healthy relationship. I'm experiencing this now, and I'm a fucking heartbreak coach. You would think I would have it down.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
it's just, again, that's why I'm so transparent about it. The fear comes up when something really amazing happens, especially when you've experienced trauma in your love life, right? Or just pain in your love life, and or someone who's always anticipating the next shoe dropping. So you gotta watch it, and then really check yourself. Is that really true? Oh, I'm noticing that I'm projecting that this story happened to me 2 years ago, right, Lauren? When you were 20?
9 years ago. 9 years ago. Okay. Yeah, so if I'm in a healthy, good relationship, everyone's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I'm just like, yeah, we'll see for now. You know?
So
I'm
you
always
gotta
like,
catch that and be present. Who is the person that's right in front of me? What are my thoughts about him? I'm noticing I'm taking on this old story, right? And then you do the mindset work and the coaching work of just like, is that really true? And who's the woman that I want to be in this new relationship with this other guy?
Right.
How does she feel? She feels secure. She's got her own back. And really doing the work to be like, is that really true? Right. And so oftentimes if I've been triggered in this relationship, I'm like, hey, this is, first of all, I do the work on myself first. Is that like, I mean, especially in the beginning, the cliche situation of, I haven't heard from him in like 6 hours.
yeah,
right?
6 hours is the
Lauren
time.
has gone like an hour or two, or like it's noon and she hasn't heard from him.
But a lot of people, men
You
and
get
women,
used to
feel
the,
that
you get
way.
used to the schedule,
It's
and then they go
scary.
off the schedule. It's been an hour
get it.
longer.
Totally.
It's
So that, I'll
scary,
be totally
especially if
honest.
it's happened to you before.
Yeah.
You know, like you're like,
Yes. Yes, but
I
still,
need you to be
it's-
accountable because
like-
my last person wasn't.
But
you
people
know?
have lives, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And so that happened with my current man. And
what'd you do?
I was like really noticing the panic, right? And it was like multiple times it felt like distant and it felt like, oh, there's, you know, the texts aren't as sweet or as loving. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the shoe dropping, right? And I kept saying, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, nothing's changed. Everything's fine. Nothing's changed. And then finally I was like, something's different.
yeah.
But I like 5 years ago, 10 years
What was
ago.
It's like you
Well, he
blinked
was going through some
a little
serious
too much.
stressful shit, and I knew that he was, but I didn't know the extent. And so it was the first time, right? We've been together 5 months. That was happening 3 months in, and I was like, oh, so he does the classic case of men are from Mars, women are from Venus. When he's stressed, he goes into his man cave, and he wasn't a dick, and he wasn't mean, and he was like, nothing has changed for me. I'm just like going through some shit right now, and I'm really stressed out. And I was just like, but what about me? Right? Like that was my instinct thought. And so because my brain was like, I'm hearing him say, I love you. I want a future with you. And my old brain, whichever part of that brain is, I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm just like a life coach for Heartbreak.
Yeah. We don't know anatomy.
But I would say my inner emotional child was like,
That'll fuck you up.
okay, I heard you, but I didn't really hear you, right? And so then I was like, well, what would it look like? Who do I want to be in this relationship? And I'm like, I want to be the loving and supportive girlfriend to my man who's going through a really stressful time.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show up and I'm going to be her, and like whatever he gives me back is okay. Because also I'm saying this because I'm in a healthy relationship and I knew he was a healthy guy, right? And as soon as I shifted me, he totally shifted, and I think it made us, I know it's so cliche, but I think it really made us closer, you guys.
Yeah, no. I
And
love
now
that.
when he is distant or I don't hear from him, I'm not like, this means he doesn't love me anymore.
And what I love about that framework is you can apply it in all parts of your life.
Absolutely.
So you can apply it at work. If someone's really annoying, you could say, well, what type of employee do I want to be? What type of daughter or like friend do I want
Be
to be?
the change that you want from the other
Exactly.
people. So, yeah.
All right, we're going to start the question and answer part. We got the questions from Instagram and I think the Facebook group. Question number 1 is, how do you get over a guy that's charming in person but a dick when he's not around?
Love that question.
How do you get over a guy who's a charming person, but he's a dick when he's not around?
Yeah, like I guess like via text and like when he's not in your presence, he's dickish. But
Okay,
if-
so I would love to ask the listener, like, what do you mean, how do you get over, right? Have you decided you don't want to be with that person, right? Because it's like, why do you keep hanging out with him if he's charming in person and then a dick on text?
Yeah.
So like if he's a dick in text, you should just kind of like let it go because that's
Or ask
behavior.
Or maybe
him.
that's his communication style.
I think
Maybe
the
who he
written
is
word-
truly is in person.
My client just sent me a thing like she thought that he was implying like you should pay or whatever with the way he was communicating, and
Oh, interesting.
she was like, and I just think that it's really weird that he said that and he did it before, and it's funny, he's from Ireland and I'm from Ireland originally. My parents were off the boat. I lived there as a kid, and he was like, should I book the tickets? And I'm like, I think he was just like wanting to confirm that he should book the tickets, and she was like, I guess I'll book them, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
but
Miscommunication.
We're projecting our
and
insecurities.
we're projecting our
We're
past
reading
onto the
into
present
stuff.
people,
Yeah.
right?
I book that. Oh my god!
I
how
know,
did you
but it was
interpret
leading
like
up to.
that?
But she said he's great in person, and then I don't find his humor funny on text. And I said, but it's more important that you like him in person. And if you like him enough in person, ask him, hey, I feel like when we're not around each other, I feel like these texts are a little bit weird. Are you just a weird texter?
I think if it was the other way around, she would have a problem.
Exactly,
You know?
Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's great advice. Ask him.
Ask.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do we still think of an ex even when we're in a new long-term healthy relationship?
I think it's old and it's familiar, and not to get too therapeutic, I think that there's childhood wounds that feel familiar, right? That we repeat the patterns. And so when we're in the unhealthy pattern, that it just feels safe. And like if you had some, I don't know, there's so many different reasons, right? Someone could be, you could have way better sex with that person, but the new healthier relationship might not be as fiery, and there's something old and familiar. And so just watch that. And then ask yourself, it doesn't have to be, is it my ex or is this person? I think we also do that, right?
Yeah.
But then really ask yourself, like, what are the qualities in a partner? Especially the way I speak is if someone's looking for a life partner, right?
Right.
That's usually my clientele. They're heartbroken over a person who they thought was the one or was super serious. And really get clear, what are the most important qualities for me? And even if I have this like old familiar pull towards someone who maybe the sex was like, I'm just using kind of a cliche example,
like mind-blowing
right?
sex or
mind-blowing sex that just feels like euphoric on a whole other level, and that pull to him, but like he literally is hot and cold behavior, drops off. Sometimes he wants to be with you, sometimes he doesn't want to be with you. When you're feeling sad about something, he doesn't emotionally support you. And again, it doesn't mean that emotionally available men suck in bed. I'm not saying that either, but just like, what is the overall picture, and get really clear with that. Because my clients say this all the time. I did this for so many years, not just in the rock bottom relationship of like, I want to be with someone really great who just like loves me and is available, but you keep choosing the unavailable. So what is really true? You got to kind of think of it like an addiction, right? I love the Heartbroken Anonymous, right? It's like, if you really want to quit drinking, you have to stop drinking the alcohol. You don't go to the bar. You don't engage, especially when you're newly quitting alcohol, right? You don't go to the bar and hang out with the alcohol around you. Just cut out emotionally unavailable men, which also is a whole other can of worms, because it's like, what is an emotionally
we could do a whole podcast on
totally.
sociopaths and unavailable men.
But I also say that I still think it's normal to think about like an ex when you're in a healthy relationship, just because it's a nostalgic thing. Right?
Sure.
It's just more like memories. It's not like I want to go back there, but it doesn't mean that it like crosses my mind. Right?
Yeah.
I'm friends with 2 exes. I actually just recently heard from one.
And it's someone that meant a lot to you in the I think about this all the time when people are friends with their exes, you know? It's like if you love someone at some point, you're not just going to completely give them up in your life.
But just my rule about being friends with exes is like, if your new partner is like, if you could hang out with them and your new partner could be a fly on the wall and watch the two of you that, it's like,
you can like actually go to dinner together.
That's a good rule of thumb. I like that.
Next question. How do you put yourself out there when you fear rejection?
Still put yourself out there and be with the fear. Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Big Magic, she also wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but Big Magic is an amazing book, and she talks about how fear, if you're ever doing something really big in your life, whether it's, you know, embarking on a new relationship or creating some kind of artwork, right? Or writing a book or doing something really huge, fear is, I mean, me growing a business as a life coach in fucking LA, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, yoga teacher, actress,
heartbreak coach.
So cliche.
Heartbreak coach.
Yes. And so, but you know, it's still like when people say, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a life coach.
I got a couple things going on.
Yeah. But, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I'm only heartbreak coaching now. But wait, what was the question again?
How do you put yourself out there?
Oh
when
yeah,
fear
so
rejection?
Elizabeth Gilbert says fear is always going to be there when you're doing something new that your brain hasn't done before, right? And so she says fear is always going to be there, and it can take the back seat. I know it's always going to be there, but I'm the one driving with the steering wheel. I'm the one navigating myself through it. So you can notice the fear. Again, you'll notice the running theme of this whole conversation is like, okay, I'm noticing I'm having fear that I'm going to get rejected. Are you going to let that hold you back? Or you can be like, hey, fear, I see you. You're bubbling in my chest right now, and I'm going to breathe through you, and I'm still going to show up because I'm worthy and deserving of finding an amazing relationship.
I always tell people fear is so incredible because it keeps us safe, right? Like it's so amazing. But on the other side of it, there's just so much immense growth that so many people aren't tapping into.
You got to like weigh the options. Be like, would you rather have potential in an amazing relationship or just stay like, you know, scared and not have
small
one?
And safe and not really find your love? Like I always say this to my clients: is it worth it to you to feel the pain in order to like find the most amazing love of your life? I was terrified the night that I was meeting my boyfriend. I'm like, what would I say to my clients? And I said,
you have to remind yourself that we're not all perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty close, but I did. I was like, I am so nervous. I called my best friend who's recently engaged, and I was like, do you want to go on the date for me? And I'm like, what is the thought that I'm thinking? Again, that's really like, I get super specific. And I was like, the thought that I'm thinking is I want us to like each other so much because we hit it off. His pictures actually looked amazing on Bumble to me. And
I was so terrifying because you're like, what gremlin am I going to sit down with now?
Yeah. And so I was like, he's so good looking and he's so lovely and he's charming and like not in a like seedy way. And I was just like, we just hit it off. And we had been talking for 2.5 weeks because he actually lives in Santa Barbara. He lives 2 hours away. So he was like running through when we connected here. And so I was just like, it felt like the stakes were so high. Because of the distance and all of that. And I was just like, the biggest fear is one of us doesn't like each other. Okay, I'll fucking survive. Yeah. Like I've been there before.
The sky will be in the sky.
Okay.
Oh, you know what my biggest fear used to be? Is like, if I like him, how am I going to keep this going?
Oh, like once you get past the I like you
It's
and
like-
you
it's
like
like,
me.
oh, shit, if I like
do
you-
I text you? Do we how many dates?
Well, we
that
can
is
list
like-
off the fears. I'm
I
like,
know.
when I find my person, I'm like, what am I going to talk to them about for the
Exactly.
rest of my
That
life?
was my biggest fear,
You know?
too.
Your
There's
life is so
many.
exciting,
But
Naz. You
No,
have so
no,
much to
Naz,
talk
that was
about.
exactly, that was exactly
With the
how
same
I was.
person forever while I'm around them always. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I was always like. Okay, so if I like him, then I'm gonna like have to be in a relationship. But like in a relationship, what do you talk about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
You
That's
talk
what-
about like your day to day shit.
Yeah.
You just
But
have
look at-
someone there with
You're
you.
married to your best friend,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like you always have shit to talk
Yeah,
about with
Ashley,
your
do you
best
ever
friend.
feel lull? No, right?
No, I mean
Yeah.
like no, but like my parents go to dinner like every single night,
Four
like, they'll
nights
go,
a
like,
week,
di-
and they
like,
sit there just the two
I'm like,
of them looking
what
and talking.
the fuck
I'm like,
are you
what
guys
the fuck
talking about?
Yeah.
Like, and then my dad made
Yeah.
a joke. He's like, "Well, we're so old that like we forgot what we said the night before, so we just repeat it." And I go, "You know what?
Honestly,
I was like, that
funny.
is probably how you guys talk at that much every night."
That's
but
so
It's
funny.
because Jared and I live like we like do so much of our daily stuff together
Yeah.
that like we don't like we couldn't sit across from each other at a dinner table for an hour
Right.
and a half because we've already talked about like our day going through our day. But like if Jared and I go to dinner once a week, then yeah, of course.
yeah.
So we
And
don't have
there's
a
also the
problem.
beauty of being like, I mean, again, I'm only 5 months in, but one of my favorite things to do is, I mean, again, I'm just full of cliches. We like long walks on the beach
Oh, I
and
love that.
just like walking and being quiet and just enjoying each other's company. I think is just, to me, that's everything because I talk all fucking week
Yeah.
about a lot of emotional
To me,
shit.
that would be the ultimate
just wanna
accomplishment
sit
to
with
feel
someone
comfortable
and, like,
in
watch a
someone's
show.
silence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I love
Ashley.
the next question.
I love the next question. That was supposed
It's
to be mine to
Ashley's
ask.
turn, Lauren.
I thought no.
Yeah,
You
I
already
just
put
asked
yourself
a
out there.
question.
Okay, fine. You
Okay.
ask.
Wait, but Lauren's excited.
Okay,
about
well,
it.
if you are, I was excited about Tim.
Then you ask. I don't fucking care.
This is so funny.
How do you stop being triggered by places and things that you associate with your ex?
Such a great question.
Amazing.
First of all,
Wow.
stop going to those places if it's
Yeah.
creating trigger. Like seriously.
What if you live around them?
What if
though?
you like the food?
What if it's an entire fucking city?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Move back
Yeah.
to New York.
New York,
Lose LA is mine. No, I'm just kidding. That's how I felt.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I
don't
felt
feel
that way. I
anymore.
dated a guy a couple of years ago, and we lived pretty close, and I felt that way. And I always had to drive by his street, and I would always be like, some days it was, other days it was the finger.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like, again, okay. I know it's like getting repetitive with my responses of just like, this is bringing up all the shit. Labeling what is happening in the body is the best way to move through it, so the pain doesn't physically manifest into rashes and weight loss and hair loss and all the things, right? And just breathing through it and finding your feet on the ground. And also, like, what is this trigger bringing up? What's the story I'm telling myself? Is it that I want him back? Is it that I'm angry at him? And do you want to just be in that, or do you want to keep, like, why is it great? Like, ask yourself if you're ready to really go there. Why is it great that we are not together? How is it serving me that we are no longer together? Keep bringing focusing your brain and retraining it to look for the beauty of actually what is, because we're resisting reality. And Byron Katie, she's this amazing thought leader and spiritual teacher, and she uses this quote, and I share it all the time in my podcast. It's, when you argue with reality, you suffer. So the reality is you're not together. The reality is you had to drive by your stomping ground with him, back and forth every day when you're going to work, right? Okay, and so it is. I'm feeling pain right now. Do I want to resist this and suffer more, or do I just want to be with my pain, which is a part of the human experience?
Yeah.
It will pass quicker, you guys.
This is not me talking. This is a listener. I have an
Lauren's
ex.
like, just
I have an ex
clarifying.
that I'm still in love with. We talk almost daily, but he has a girlfriend. What should I do?
Stop talking to him.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay.
No,
Lauren's hijacking the question
sorry.
today.
No, but seriously, everyone's like, oh, it's so hard, and I love him.
I love it,
Stop.
Lauren.
He's not available, so do yourself a favor and stop and create space for the right person to come in.
Once upon a time, Lauren decided to leave Bachelor in Paradise and a whole bunch of opportunity for a guy who had a girlfriend. What was the point of that?
And she dragged her suitcase across the whole beach, and it was amazing television content.
Very, very good.
Moving
television
on.
content.
How do you beat through heartbreak of losing a grandparent, parent, etc.?
Sorry, how do you beat through heartbreak?
Yeah, I guess I mean, like, how do you beat it?
Oh,
Like,
how do you
get
beat it?
over
I was like, heartbeat.
Beat heartbreak beats.
How do you get over losing a grandparent, parent? I don't know if you'll ever get over
This
it.
is my
but-
biggest fear. Jared and I have talked about this on this podcast literally a zillion times.
But we're all going to lose everyone.
I
one
know,
day.
which is why I really think, guys, whether it's coaching, therapy, meditation, yoga, learn how to consciously cope with your pain before greater pain happens. I think when trauma happens and pain loss happens, I mean, that's still my biggest fear ever is losing a parent. Yeah. And I think you just like start talking about your pain, start using tools to work through that.
Come
and
to
that
Heartbroken Anonymous once a month.
Yeah. And it is a part of life. And again, grieve and let yourself fall apart and show up and do the work on yourself so that you're prepared for the
I feel like a
potential
lot of
greatest
people
loss.
lose a parent after not like losing anything else in their life, and then they become like alcoholics or they never
no
go to
coping
work again.
skills.
No coping skills. Exactly.
Okay, so the next question, I've never had a friend breakup, but Naz is like thinks this is very important to talk about.
A lot, because a lot of people come to Heartbroken Anonymous
they do?
over a friendship heartbreak.
okay.
And they
yeah.
say that
Okay.
it hurts more than a romantic one.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
What's the question?
I guess the question is, well, is it normal for that to happen?
Yeah, I
Are they
think
worse
any
or
normal.
harder?
I've heard people say that the loss of a partner is more painful than the loss of a parent, right? Because some people just know when you go through the cycle of life, you're losing a parent, and it's like the parent didn't choose to leave this earth, but you could be so in love with someone and they have left, right? And so a friend, it's like you just think that person's going to be there forever. So it totally makes sense to me, right?
And it's like the family you choose, and it's
the
someone
family
you talk to
choose.
all the time.
And like we kind of all know when we go into relationships, there's intimate romantic relationships, there's a risk that it may not work out. And if you're in an exclusive relationship, but as friends, we get to have many, so we don't think about losing them. So I think that totally makes sense. But again, any kind of heartbreak, stop judging it. You guys just do the work because that keeps you more
I feel like
heartbroken.
whenever like my friend doesn't respond, I'm like, oh, they never responded to that. Let me send another text, and then they don't respond to that. I'm like, oh my god, they're like so mad at me, and I get really scared.
Yeah, I get scared about
I get
that too.
really
but then I like
scared.
really try to be like, what did you do? He's like, you really didn't do anything.
I know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? We all get scared.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Is it normal to have your ex pop in your head years later?
That's what I just asked before. And I said, yes, it is.
Yes.
Move on to the next one. Then.
Can you really be friends with an ex, and is it healthy?
I think so, as long as both of you are completely over each other. Don't fool yourself to think that, oh, yeah, it's totally cool. The fact that you're asking that question, right, whoever's asking that, it's like there's still residual feelings. So be careful with your heart.
Yeah.
Why do I want to online stalk my ex so much? Do you think these people just maybe
Well,
aren't
if you're
over
not
their ex?
over him, you're stalking him, right? And sometimes I'm curious, an old ex will pop into my head and be like, huh, right? And I think,
I wonder
but
about
again,
that in life, but not like,
just
oh, I want to
check
be with
yourself.
them.
But if you're constantly looking up someone, it's probably because you still have feelings for that person.
Aw. How do you move on from someone that you know isn't good for you?
I think just going back to what we were talking about earlier, right? There's a process. You grieve it. You watch
And
your
the
story.
awareness that you were talking about, and just being aware of that story that you're telling.
Yeah, and if
yourself.
you know that he's not good for you, who is good for you? And start thinking about being the woman who wants to be in a relationship with a guy who is good for her. And initially, that might not feel normal, right? You might feel resistant because you've been drawn to this Mr. Bad Guy unavailable. So you have to retrain yourself. Well, what's attractive about this guy who is showing up, who is asking me out? And again, I know we all need to feel some kind of physical.
How come sometimes those great guys aren't attractive and the bad one is more attractive?
Because I think it's an old, familiar story.
So it's
But
just reframing
I
the
also
story.
really do believe. I mean, I know this sounds really bad, but I've like dated some conventionally not so attractive dudes.
Yeah.
And because I've been open, right? Because I was always going for the pretty boy, and I knew that wasn't working. I was like, I'm willing, and that's what I do with my clients: is are you willing to just say yes, even if you have no interest whatsoever?
Yeah.
Start practicing saying yes to the people who are interested and are treating you the way you know that you really do want to be treated deep down.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Good
Still hasn't
girl.
worked out, but I'm proud of myself for doing it. You got the next one though? Ashley had to take a dump, guys. I'm just kidding. No, she's right here. She's right here. I'm just kidding.
We have a sponsored pizza thanks to Fresh Brothers coming over for Valentine's Day. It's heart-shaped, and the
that's
delivery
so
man
cute.
Yeah.
has been apparently knocking on the door. Are you coming out for the past 5 minutes?
Oh, no, is he at the right place?
No, apparently not.
No. Okay. How do you know when
It's gonna be a sad heart-shaped cold pizza.
It's gonna be cold? How do you know when a relationship is worth fighting for versus when it's time to move on?
That is a really
I
good
like that
question.
question.
So good.
I think if both of you really do want to make it work and you're seeing growth in the making of it work. Like because it was my new relationship, right? I didn't know, like, is this where we're going to part ways, or, or can we meet each other's needs? So both parties have to want to make it work, and both parties have to be willing to show up in a different way. But if one is like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, or one is like, I don't really want to put in the work,
it's not going to progress.
You should know that you should go.
Do you think you could ever get over a cheater? Do you think you can ever move on from that?
So funny. I just handed in an article to Poosh about physical versus emotional cheating today.
Can you tell Courtney that I love her?
I will.
Can you hug her for me? Is she my height? Okay.
But she, sorry, getting over cheaters.
Or no, is it possible to like move past that and the trust ever?
That is a great question, Lauren.
That was out of my brain. I didn't even read that.
Yeah, wow. I personally, like, cheating is just no bueno for me. I know it is possible to heal from it. I think about a couple who've maybe been married for 15 years, asleep at the wheel, the kids, the money stress, the job stresses, and one goes astray, and then like they've really realized like this is what was all about, and let's come together and make it work. I think you have to really know the other person. But if you know, like, as soon as I knew that my rock bottom ex was cheating, I was like, I knew this because I knew he was a fucking player beforehand. I'm dropping all the F-bombs, and you guys have been such ladies.
This is literally fuck off. Yeah.
Thanks. No.
Okay, next question.
Okay, so
Ashley's got it.
It kind of plays off of that. Is it okay to forgive your boyfriend for kissing another girl but still feeling heartbroken over it 2 years later?
That means that she's totally not able to move on past it. So,
yeah,
she should just cut it off, right?
No, because maybe she can work through it, right?
2 years later, but is he showing up in a completely different way? Has he been really honest and trustworthy? I'd need to know more information. Like, when did it happen? Did he tell her directly and said, this stupid thing happened, I was stupid drunk, and like now I'm so, you know what I mean? So it's like, is that the only thing she found out, but he acts shady and it's 2 years later? Maybe you should move on.
True.
You got it. And there's a combination of, again, I could do a whole other episode.
We do
your
have the story.
Oh,
should I say? Yeah.
Hey.
I'm just going to read through it because it'd be helpful for that person.
Yes.
My boyfriend and I started dating 5 years ago when we were both 16. We went to different high schools and then on to different colleges an hour away from each other. 2 years ago, during my boyfriend's freshman year, he got really drunk and kissed another girl. Parentheses, there were other people in the room that I fully trust when it happened, so I know that it was only a kiss. He ended up telling me about it 3 months later, and I was absolutely broken over it, but I loved him way too much to let him go. It took me a while to really forgive him, but sometimes I still think about it and can't get the thought of him kissing another girl out of my mind. When we get in a fight, sometimes I bring it up to hurt him. I don't know how to fully let it go and let it be in the past. A kiss may not seem like a big deal, but when it's the love of your life, it hurts. I need to let myself fully trust him again.
Okay, first of all, I think he totally deserves a second chance. And I don't think it's a big deal that he came to her 3 months later because he was terrified and he still did it. And they're super young, right?
That's what I was going to say.
How old are they?
College, first year of college or something.
Yeah. So I think that that's really commendable of him. And also, you just have to decide. It comes from you. Again, I always ask my clients, think of the future version of yourself. Do you want to be the forgiving, loving, trusting girlfriend? Then you have to decide to become her and commit to, even when you guys get into a fight, I'm not going to say that. Right? It's like if you decide you're not going to say fuck you in a fight, like I'm not going to throw that in your face. It was one dumb mistake and I'm choosing to move on. But if you're saying I can't move on, that is on you, my friend. It is
if you're not willing to like try and accept
and so
it
if you can't, right? But again, you can, you're just choosing not to. And is your boyfriend, has he been showing up? It sounds to me like you're super in love with him. Is he showing up consistently and being an amazing boyfriend? Then give him that. That was 3 years ago. I totally think that is salvageable.
Let it go. Let it go.
What is it about that song that just
it's stuck in our
wants
brain
me to kill? That's like my trigger song. Like in Sinner, that would be my trigger song.
Yes. Okay, what are some red flags to look for? Like maybe when you first start dating someone, what's like a red flag?
Great question, whoever sent that one.
Such a great question. I think consistency with his word. Does he have follow through on his word about plans? Is he showing up? I personally, this is my own opinion, I appreciate a guy who asks me out in a handful of days in advance, that he's respecting my time and my schedule.
Yeah.
I had a client who said that on a first date, like as they were leaving the bar, he just like tried feeling her up. I would say red flag.
That is a red flag. Yes.
Yeah. Can't get any redder
Someone
than
who's
that.
talking about himself the whole time, doesn't ask you questions about yourself. I know personally,
Narcissist sign.
Yeah, but even still, narcissists are really good at asking you questions and making you feel important.
Yeah.
So really making sure and that the conversation is going back and forth. I do have to say, relationship history, finding out their past. I know we shouldn't judge people by their past, but I mean, I dated a lot of guys that were just like, I just haven't like dated for like 8 years. And then it's like you start dating them and you're like, oh, I kind of know why. That said, I wouldn't say, look, if you're into the person, just go in eyes wide open. But if you're seeing those things, pay attention to those things. I would
It's
say
just
those
good
would
to
be
know
main
if the
ones.
car's been in an accident before you buy it.
That's true.
I like that
But
expression.
it
doesn't mean that the car
Get the
will
Carfax.
crash.
the car.
Imagine if there were boyfacts.com.
Yeah. There has to be a
I've
website
always
called
thought
Boyfax.
about-
There is
Okay.
something like that. I forget.
There
what
is
it's
something where
called.
you can, but I think it turned into girls just bashing guys, which wasn't good. What's am I
I'm
next?
trying
Oh,
to look for some really good ones.
How to get over a guy that you were blinded by the breakup. I like this because I
that
went
is
through
great.
a similar situation and I had to learn to give myself closure, which took a long time. But what are your thoughts?
What's super scary? It's kind of like how Lauren was ghosted and that stayed with her synapses for so long, because then you're like, oh well, if a relationship's going so well and it feels good, it feels right, but then I have this trauma of it being cut off in the middle of the blue. That's super scary.
It's what everyone's
So my
biggest
first
fear
question would be though, like people who come to me who are like, I was totally blindsided. As I start coaching them, they weren't.
They weren't. You realize you were not. Yeah.
There's stuff that you saw in some way, shape, or form that's not like, damn it, if only I paid attention. This is not an opportunity to shame and try to rewind time and do it differently. It's just like, or did you guys go too fast too soon, right?
Yeah.
Like, how soon were you meeting his family? How soon? Like, my rock bottom ex and I, we were like, whoosh, like off to the races right off the bat. It was just lust and all the things. And because I thought like he'd been pining for me for 2 years and we were friends and all the things and his family, right? It was just a recipe for disaster, but I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't listening to my body. Right. I didn't go to the other woman, Victoria, and say, hey, you're so sweet. We've always gotten along. Why aren't you talking to me? Instead, I went to him. And I purposely went to him because I didn't want
You
to
didn't
hear
want
the
the
truth.
answer. Yeah, exactly.
I know that
Face
looking
it.
back.
Yeah.
So really, like, blindsided or not, though, you guys, heartbreak is heartbreak. Yes, does it extra suck if he blindsides you? But at the end of the day, all that I've talked about throughout this episode, grieve, watch your thoughts, and then when you are ready, change your thoughts. And always look back and see how you could have shown up differently, and maybe you were painting green over the red flags.
I love that answer because that's really true. Pay attention.
What if you go really fast and there are no red flags?
Are there not though?
And
Like,
why
what's
do you
bad
need to
about
go
going
really
fast?
fast?
I don't know.
My boyfriend and I said I love you 2 months in, but
that's not
to
that
sound. I don't know. I think for me overall, throughout everything that I'd been through, and because I hadn't said I love you in 9 years, that felt like a really big deal.
Okay.
But it felt super right for me. And because, again, it's going back to the question of like, how do you prepare for losing a death of a parent? It's like if you're doing the work on yourself and you're getting super savvy with your body and your intuition and your brain and managing your thoughts and re-falling in love with yourself so that you can show up so the right person can fall in love with you. Right? That really sets you up in such a way that now I'm like losing track of what the question was. I felt like I was on a good track.
Where were we? What was the question?
It was about being blinded by a breakup.
No,
but
it was
Lauren
about
asked-
going too fast.
Yeah.
too
Oh,
slow.
Oh, yeah,
Lauren's
going
answer,
too
yeah.
fast. So that didn't feel too fast. But if you have a pattern of going too fast and it blows up in your face constantly, slow the fuck down. And what is the rush?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the age range of the majority of your listeners? Like 20s, 30s?
20, 30, yeah.
And so like I'm in my late 30s and I coach people in their 20s, 30s, but I also coach women in their early 40s. And I still say, slow the fuck down. Like if we're lucky, we have another 50 or 60 years on this planet.
True.
We'll take 2 more questions. This one,
Let's do 3 more.
3 more?
Yeah.
Okay. How can somebody be so heartbroken and so in love at the same time?
I love that question.
Sorry, what was the beginning of that?
How can somebody be so heartbroken and so in love at the same time?
I mean, to me, it's just so obvious.
It's just like they're so like the heightened emotions like kind of clash. I mean,
Yeah.
they just meld together.
Also, you're human. I feel like is the answer to
and
that.
isn't
Yeah.
life both light and dark, pain and love, and pain and happiness, and it's like that's what it's all about. We wouldn't be heartbroken if we weren't in love. The two go hand in hand.
yeah. I love the next question.
Read it then, because I lost track.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'll ask it since we're only going to do 3 more. How do you get over someone in the workplace? That's such a good one. Because a lot of people come to Heartbroken Anonymous talking about that too.
I have a client who's going through that right now. First of all, boundaries. Say to the person, like, I need as much space as possible.
You might need to see them every day. It's so hard.
I know, but there are ways to avoid that. I mean, I don't know if this person is sitting next to someone in the cubicle or whatever, but it's just like, again, managing the mind, coming into the body, feeling the pain, but also putting up the boundaries and saying, this is, not anything that I want to engage in. And so ways that you can protect yourself and saying, because like my client yesterday, this literally just happened to her. She's like, now he feels so bad and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, put up the boundaries and say, do not talk to me. This doesn't mean like, I think you're a dick. It's just don't talk to me because I want to go in and focus on your job.
Yeah. It's so hard to even like not work with the person, focus on your work.
A great motivating thing to do too is just like go be the desirable woman that you know that you are and show him or her what she's missing, what they're missing.
Love it.
It's actually a very good opportunity to show them that you're badass.
Yeah. Go
Lauren,
look
you
fire.
have our
last and final question.
You were the decider of which one it is. Claire, this has been outstanding.
Oh my God, you guys are so much fun.
So good.
Thank God I have you on speed dial for my next
the remaining
heartbreak.
question.
When does it feel like you're living a nightmare after a breakup? When does it stop feeling like you're living a nightmare?
Do
What's
everything.
the average?
Wait, what's the time? The amount
What's
of
the average time?
I will never
won't
give
do
an
it.
average
Okay.
time. Yeah, because
No, 'cause it'll make them feel
that's why I
abnormal.
said there's no algorithm
Okay,
to like
fine.
when to
You're
get
right.
over anything.
But I will
Everything is
tell you,
normal.
some of the people that came to me who have been in the depths of despair and they show up and do this work, they're like, boom. And some come to me and I'm like, oh, she'll be fine in a month. And it like drags on for a longer time. So it's like, there's no way to gauge. I'm always super surprised. But I do think if you do these tools that I've been talking about and really put them into practice, it's definitely going to take less than 25 years.
where can people
That is
find
a
you,
good
Claire?
How can they book you?
You can go to my website, ClaireTheHeartbreakCoach.com, Claire with an I and an E. We're actually transitioning into just doing applications because the demand has been quite high.
Yes.
Wow,
So
that's incredible.
thanks, you guys.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I've got a question for our people who aren't in LA. Can they Skype
I do
you
only phone sessions.
Oh, only
Yeah,
phone
I
sessions.
actually don't even do Skype because the heartbroken people tend to be very like vulnerable and self-conscious. So we just do the voice. And,
I like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You're
And looking at your
amazing.
face would be
I love
distracting
you.
for them.
Yeah, it's
It'd make
really
them even
good
more
face.
heartbroken about themselves.
Yeah. What's that Billie Eilish song? Your eyes are an ocean.
I love you guys so much. You have no idea, like seriously,
Yes, you
what
have
huge
to come
fans I am
back.
of all
Thank
of you.
you.
So thank
Listeners,
you
let us
so much
know.
for having me.
I have
Yes.
really enjoyed looking at your face.
Yeah.
In addition, to hearing what
Yeah.
you've said.
And you
take
have to
it.
come to Heartbroken one day.
I would love
for you to
to.
come. Yeah.
I would absolutely love to. This has
Yay.
been so much fun. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
I don't get it.
Podcast.